Hi, welcome to Wilder Side Gear. I'm David Schricker, founder of Wilder Side. Today I'm going to be demonstrating how to install a Freedom Launcher on this 2022 Hobie Outback. I've had a Freedom Launcher on it, took it off so that I could do this video. One of the new things moving forward is that all new Freedom Launcher customers will receive something that's a little bit different, which is a pre-cut crossbar ready to be installed on your Freedom Launcher. This is a new venture for us because in the past we've asked customers to fit up and size the crossbar to your particular kayak. That business model worked well to begin with, but now that we're a little bit further along in the journey, we're making pre-cut crossbars available to all customers of all kayak types to make it easier for you to do the install. So I'm going to demonstrate what it's going to look like in this new style and method, and we're going to go ahead and get started here in just a moment. I showed in a previous video how to install a gorilla bracket through the rear rod holder by taking this off, as I've done here. But for some of you, you have an Outback that has molded in rod holders, and so on this side I'm going to demonstrate how to install the blind bracket, the tapered blind bracket, custom made for the Outback, that goes right inside here like so, through an opening like this access port right here. And so all I've done to begin is I've snaked this wire, stiff wire here, through this access port. One thing, I'm going to take this camera off here and just show you a little bit. As you might know, there's a piece of foam here. It's black foam, and it's going to get in your way. But there's an open channel here, and I'm going to try to basically snake this bracket above to the side or above that. And so right now this wire goes along this channel like so. Okay. All right, let's try this. See how it goes. I'm going to guide it to the corner here. On this side. I can see the thread. There we go. Got it that far. All right. So with just one, I'm going to go ahead and secure this side with a lock nut to make sure it doesn't fall down. And then we're just going to try to rip the threads out. on this side. Get rid of the, there we go. Okay. In your mounting group, you'll get a couple of these silicone washers that go over the bolts. Number one, they just help secure the mount temporarily in place so it doesn't slide down in the hole while you're messing with all the other parts in the stack. As you can see, there's the Gorilla bracket that goes over those, and then you simply put the washer and lock nut on the stack like so. Again, if you want to see how to install that mount, we'll show you that later. Okay. Initially, I just keep this very loose so that the Gorilla bracket will maintain its proper orientation relative to the crossbar. And so in order to enable that, I'm going to loosen this temporarily, like so. Okay. So, all right. So with the mounts mounted now, the next step is to mount the crossbar to the Gorilla brackets. So this crossbar, this particular crossbar is a black powder coat, and it'll come wrapped in foam. Keep it looking good for you. Get that nasty piece of wire out of the way. Its job is done. And you'll notice that the crossbar comes with a little sign that says front. You want the angle to be opening up to the front and then angling back to the back. I'll leave that on just for now. And I have a couple security tags so that the seat is tied to the crossbar. Sad story, I lost a seat because I didn't have it secured. And since the crossbar is mounted to the kayak, that will keep that from happening again. So the distance between the Gorilla brackets here is like 31 3/4. So what I like to do is just you're going to want to center the crossbar so that it is even and projects the same distance on both sides. And get it so that it is centered under the Gorilla brackets. So I'm going to be measuring this distance from the edge of the Gorilla bracket. It's about 4 9/16. So it should be like, it just needs to move like a 1/16 of an inch that way to be even. Put a mark over here where I want it to be with a piece of yellow tape. I just need to move it ever so slightly over, like so. I'm going to loosen that and just scoot it over that way until the gorilla bracket and that tape line up. There is 4 and almost 5/8 by 4 and 5/8. I'm going to call that good. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. And so, that side is square. I'm going to get this side square so that it is centered under the gorilla bracket. Okay. Take a look at it there and make sure the gap looks about even. And then take out my 5/16 drill and we're going to start drilling. And now just make sure that you've got it pointed so that the angle is making, the crossbar is making a V. If this tag is still on, it should be pointing, the front is that way. We've got the crossbar oriented properly. And so I'm going to take out my 5/16 drill that's got the stop washer on it. So it looks something like this. I've got it so that it's going to go through the crossbar and stop, but stop well short of hitting the kayak. All right? That's how I have this set. I think it's set so that it's about 2.5 inches deep. You can double check that. Yep, that's like 2 and 5/8 right now. So that will just stop. The washer will keep it from hitting the kayak. So we just want to drill 5/16 hole, first hole through the crossbar. You can see the drill is through. Okay, now we have committed to that hole. So the thing I like to do is put something in that hole so that the assembly can't move, okay? And that still looks good. Happy with that. I'm gonna go over and hit the next hole on the other side so that we establish both sides is committed to a certain location. Double check and make sure I like that is fairly even. If you eyeball it and it looks good, it's good. It doesn't have to be exact. Now I'm going to commit to this hole here. Same thing. All right. Watch out for those aluminum chips, they're very sharp. Now I've committed those 2 holes, so now I can move my clamp out of the way. I can even push on the head of that bolt a little bit. And then I'm going to drill the third hole and the fourth hole accordingly. All right. The same thing over here. Push down on that bolt head, just, or at least there, and we'll go ahead and commit to the fourth hole. All right. So that is the most difficult job done. Getting the mounting group mounted and drilling the 4 holes. You can see I used the Gorilla bracket as a drill guide. So we have those 4 holes now dedicated and ready to go. Before I go any farther, I'm going to go ahead and clean this up with the vacuum. Okay, I have so then we're going to install a washer, lock washer, and the nut. It's this is a 5/16 hardware, and in order to do this, it's tight in there. What I like to do is lift up on the bolt so that the thread just peeks through, and then you can slip the hardware on. Like so. Washer, lock washer. Sometimes you just do it by feel. And then the nut. You can even push it helps to just push it down and have the nut trapped against the hull, and it's already grabbed and it's already starting to tighten up. Put the washer, the lock washer, and then the nut. It helps after that first one's on because it's holding the crossbar up. Just push it down, and I didn't even see what I was doing, but I already could feel that the nut and the threads were beginning to catch. So that's how it is. It's just hand tight right now. All right. So I'm going to make everything hand tight at first. So again, these are the 3-inch long 5/16 grade 8 bolts that'll come in your mounting group for this style of mount. All right, that's hand tight. Okay, so we have the 4 bolts now engaged. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten those up. I would highly recommend that you not use a power tool with this joint. And the reason is this is at this stage the tube is fairly hollow, and I certainly want the lock washer compressed, but I don't want to over tighten this particular joint, because again, the washer, the end cap keeps the tube rigid here, but it's hollow right there. So I just want it hand tight. So the first joint to tighten is this 1/2-inch hardware securing the Gorilla bracket against the crossbar. Should have a shorter socket, but I don't have it with me, so. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is tighten that joint. And then again, this joint doesn't need to be super tight. The lock nuts are what keep everything on. So all you want to do is just take the slack out of that joint. But you really don't want to make it any tighter than just sort of snug and hand tight. Same thing here. Okay. That is rigid, that is now secure. And we have done the hardest part of this install. The next steps are just simply to assemble the legs, install the freedom brackets, and away we go. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is assemble the handles. And it's really a straightforward task. You're going to take 2 side handles, make sure that these indents are on the inside. They go together like so. And then we're going to put a washer on the bolt. Assemble it like that. Now notice there's a little bit of black plastic that comes through the threads, and so one of the things that's really a good idea to do is clean the threads with a wire brush. Just make sure even little bits of plastic that you can't see sometimes can bind up those threads. So just clean them off really well. That way the lock nut goes on nicely. It's a 3-inch by 5/16 stainless steel bolt. In this case, a Sportsman series. Okay, I'm just going to leave it loose for a minute. I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to put the bolts in opposite. And as I guess a preferred practice, I like to have the bolt heads on the outside. You get that wire brush and clean those threads off really well. Yeah, you can see some plastic in there. Okay. There we go. So the heads are on opposite ends of each of the assemblies. We'll put this on the outside. So this will go on the left. This will be the right assembly. So then I'm going to go ahead and tighten those up. That's my 1/2 inch. These I would just, turn it to like the 15. And that will be tight enough. Lock nut will keep it in place. Right. Next, and I've already pre-assembled the spring bolt on the bottom of these springs, but just push the sleeve so you can expose one end of the spring and take the tapered bolt, put it in the tapered end of the handle, and then slip the spring over the threads. And then you're just going to, usually there's one way that it might go a little deeper. Take your 1024 lock nut and just get it on there. And again, this one you don't really want to be super tight. It just want to fully engage the lock nut. That's good enough. So it can still rotate. Needs to have a little bit of movement in that. So that's one handle assembly ready to go. And we'll take the next spring. Again, I've put the spring bolt on the bottom. Stretch the spring sleeve so you can get to it, and do the same thing here. Okay. Okay, the next step is we're going to go ahead and open up the legs and install the handles. So there is a left and a right leg. That's to right. So the handle goes kind of to the back and on top. So this is the right handle. I like to put the top pin in first. And it doesn't matter if you have the leg like this or turn 180 degrees, it's all the same. The last step will be to stretch the spring and put the spring bolt in below here. Just like so. Okay, and I just tighten it so that, in fact, I just want to make sure that the lock nut isn't fully engaged. Still leave a little bit of room there. And this should be the two left. The left goes like so. Spring bolt. Like so. Okay. There we go. I failed to put the locking pin in the handle assembly, so we're going to do that next. Sometimes they're a little stiff going in, which is okay because you really kind of want to get this pin centered and then have it to stay there. So let it be a little stiff. It actually works in your favor. There we go. And I put that in. Again, all the heads of the hardware, I want it to be on one side. So go ahead and push that in like so. There we go. And again like so. You want the taper, the big end on the outside of these tapered washers. Big end on the outside. There we go. Now the handle assembly's done. And all we have left is the center pivot pin. So the next step is to install the freedom brackets. And so you take the 1 3/4 bolt on top, slide her in, and then put the washer, lock washer, and the nut on. You may need to ream these holes a little bit because that plastic insert can wiggle inside there. Or you just may need to adjust it a little bit so that the plastic insert moves to give you room for the bolt. And keep in mind that at least we like to have the label on the outside. So each of these has a label, and orient it so that the label's on the outside. So there you go. You go ahead and get the other. I just see some like plastic residue in there. I'm just going to take the bolt and just run it through like so. There you go. All right. Washer, lock washer, and nut. Lock washer, lock washer, and nut. And I'm out of 5/16 hardware, which means that hopefully got every joint ready to go. Okay, so those are just kind of hand tight. Now, I recommend you use a torque wrench to tighten these 4 bolts on the outside attached to the freedom bracket to 18 foot-pounds of torque. I just put a 1/2 inch wrench on the top and all right, that's tightening. Let's get it snug. Okay. Okay, honey. Okay. All right. So we are really, really close. I'm going to go ahead and put the left leg assembly in. Now just slide it in from top to bottom, the end of the post in, and I'll just let the locking pin sit in that forward position. And then you're going to level out the leg so that it's in a certain position and you can see the axle hole there. Just give it a bit of a wiggle and it engages. Left leg is in. Same thing over here. Have the handle on top. Slip it in from the front, engage the locking pin in the front slot. And again, do the same thing. And our left leg assembly, or right leg assembly is in. Looks good. Plenty of room and clearance here. And I'll go grab a couple wheels. Okay, so the last step is just simply putting the axle assembly together. Really, it's a very simple job. You just put the axle lock on the end of the axle with a small hole and put a bolt and nut through like that. You'll get an axle kit with all of these parts. Pretty straightforward procedure. When you install the axle, it's from the inside out. Have the axle lock just wrap around the leg like so. You're going to want to next put the spacer on, then the wheel. This is a used wheel, works just as good as a new wheel, and your wheel's on. And do the same thing on the other side, and your Freedom Launcher is ready to go. Okay. Here we are. Well, I'm going to clean this up a bit and give it a bit of a test drive. And I actually do need to place this. Okay, let's go for a test ride. Oops, I gotta put both wheels down. You can push it from the back, you can push it from the front. I'm gonna turn around so you can see what I'm doing. Grab it with one hand and just take it for a ride. There we have it. Another successful install of the Freedom Launcher on the Hobie Outback. Hey, so we've come to the conclusion of the install on the Hobie Outback. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. Regarding the install, I thought it went together very straightforwardly. You'll notice I didn't always read the manual because I've done this so many times, forgot a few steps, recovered. So it might be a little bit like what happens when you do the install as well. I think as I've done this over and over again, the Freedom Launcher is a pretty forgiving install. And with the crossbar already pre-cut, it's going to make your job a lot easier to do the install. You could follow this procedure, and even if you have a different style kayak, if you're using a gorilla mount, most of the steps here are going to be very similar. In some cases, you're going to reach under and put a different type of anchor underneath. You don't need to have this custom tapered bracket. If it's an Old Town, for instance, you're just going to have a couple load plates underneath there. But it'll be a very similar install. I bet 95% is really common. So thanks for watching. Again, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And until next time, tight lines.